Shabbos Parshas Chayesara, Shabbos Mevorchim Chodesh Kislev. Chodesh Kislev is coming up. Virtual Kinnis HaShluchim this year. Went into Zoom. There's many things to discuss in Parshas Chayesara. And what we find, one very famous lesson in Parshas Chayesara, is that a large chunk of the Chumash of the Parshas Chayesara speaks about the Shidduch of Yitzchak and Rivka, right? The story of Eliezer, how he went to get Rivka, the miracles that happened are repeated in the Torah twice. And Rashi says that the words of the servants, of the slaves of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov are more important to in certain degree, at least more than the Torah that was given later to the sons of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. How many mitzvahs we have in the Torah that there's an extra vav, there's an extra yud, there's so many details that the Torah doesn't specify. The Torah tells you how to put on film, it says one pasuk, it doesn't give you more details. But the story of Eliezer is detailed not only once, twice. Yeah, so it says, what is the reason for this? So there's a number of explanations. One point that I guess we could apply to, if we would rephrase it as like this, in Avodas Hashem, there's two things. There's dealing with the world, and there's dealing with things that are beyond the world. So a lot of times, some people, I would say, my grandfather used to say that a lot of people like to deal with Seviv Kalam and not with Mamalik Kalam. They like to deal with, things that are very holy and sublime. They don't like to deal with, they like to farbring about beautiful concepts, about farbring about things that hit home, like not talking during davening or other things. They don't want to talk about, talking about Seviv Kalam, Avas Yisrael, Achtus Yisrael, about, Skashis to the Rebbe, all beautiful things, but about, when it comes down to business, people don't like to go there. So the Torah tells us, the Rebbe explains, Sicha, talk, the Eibusha created the world through talking. The world was created through utterances. Torah is higher than the world. In order to keep the world running, the Eibusha constantly has to say the Asar Memoris, the 10 utterances. So the Rebbe explains that in the service of a person to Hashem, it means when it comes to matters of the world, for those things that have to be done, when you have to elevate the world, you have to refine the world, it has to be done with the full details, Every single detail has to become connected with the Eibusha. You have to reveal its connection to the Eibusha, you have to validate its existence, and so on and so forth. Again, I'm rephrasing the idea, but that's more or less the theme. When it comes to things that are beyond the world, it's very important. Yes, we learn Chassidus, we delve into very high details, but the point is that the Ikar, that those things in the Torah suffice with the Remez, things that are very deep and very high and supernatural. You don't have to focus, you don't have to elaborate so much on it. You can think about it more and more, but you don't have to spell things out. When it comes to dealing with the world, things have to be done in a very spelled out, clear way. So that's one way, that's why at least I was thinking today, what we learn about, and the Rebbe connects it also. We know that the idea of Parshas Chayesara, the life of Sarah, Rashi explains that all the years of Sarah's life, Kulin Shavim L'Tov, every day was equal, that was good, even though throughout her life she went through different changes, but they were all equally good. And the question obviously is, how could somebody go through ups and downs in her life? For so many years she was childless, and she was taken to her Pari's house, Abimelech's house, and everything should be Kulin Shavim L'Tov. We also find that Avram Zokan Baba Yom, Avram came into days. And basically the idea is we see a big focus here on time, on dealing with days and time. And the Rebbe explains that the person, when it comes to Avodas Hashem, there's two elements. The Baal Shem Tov says that every single day a person should do a mitzvah. Why? A person could do, it says, Baba Yom, every single day he has to have the mitzvah of that day. A person would say, I'm supposed to give a dime to tzedakah every day. So I'll give 2 dimes tomorrow. Why do I have to give every single day another dime? And the Rebbe goes through the whole thing. The Rebbe says the mitzvah itself, instead there's really no difference technically if you give 1 dime today and tomorrow, every single day, or one day you'll give a bunch of dimes for all the days of the week, all the days of the month. But the idea of Torah is to affect the world. The world is based on time and space. Every single day there's another physical creation, there's a physical entity, a time that has to be elevated to Kedusha. So Avram, Baba Yom, Avram did his avodah. He didn't, wasn't only flying in the sky, but every single day, every single unit of time, he tried to connect with Eibusher. He tried to put himself, Baba Yom, he went into the days. And because when it comes to physical things, serving the Eibusher, we can't just live through life, floating. In other words, you have to go into the physicality of the world and elevate. You don't have to get what's going on in the world, not at all. But it means you have to, involve yourself in your own personal avoid in a very tangible way. Don't try to gloss over details, physical avodas Hashem that needs to be done in a physical, detailed way. On the other hand, Sarat was the same thing, right? Every single year, she put herself, lived that day fully. Kulan Shav, every single day was used out properly. Therefore, even though there were ups and downs, but when later on in life, she reached, things, whatever she suffered from in the earlier years were compensated by the nachas she had in the later years. So since in the earlier years, she wasn't just floating through life, she did serve the Eibusher as much as best as possible in each year, in each circumstance, according to what that circumstance called for. So therefore, eventually, even when her life was over, every single year and day, eventually was all good. Why? Because the good that happened later, a lot of people that go through life, so, when good things happen, they're not fully there. It's some bad things happen, they're not fully there. Sometimes it's good to be, not to know what's going on. But Sarah, she involved herself, she tried to make the best out of every situation. So therefore, even at the end of her life, even though there were ups and downs, but what's the bottom line? The bottom line is Kul and Shav. The bottom line is everything made a perfect harmony at the end of her life, that all her life was productive. The negative things that she experienced in her earlier days were compensated by the good things she had in the end of her life. And every single day was used out properly. Kul and Shav. So the lesson is, again, the importance of involving ourselves, not getting caught up with what's going on. So also, if she would have really got caught up with everything, then one day she would have been up, one day she would have been high, and one day she would have been low. She managed to stay afloat. She managed not to get affected. Right? Rashi says when she was older, she was as beautiful when she was younger. She was free of sinners when she was younger. Every single day and year she lived to its fullest, but yet she managed to remain unaffected from the externalities that was going on. So what does that mean for us? So today we're living in interesting times, I don't need to elaborate on the geopolitical situation in the world, in America, and whatever is going on. Whatever, but the point is that every single day, first of all, we don't have to get caught up with everything that's going on. It's not healthy always to keep tabs on what was the latest tweets from this guy or that guy. And it's also, the main thing is, most importantly, to use that opportunity. In other words, you're here in a certain circumstance, there's an avodah to be done. Might not be the circumstance that you expected, that you wanted, that you appreciate. But if you use out that circumstance the way it's supposed to be, so eventually, Kulun Shav, you'll see at the end of it all that each day, each circumstance, each thing you did during that time had a good purpose, it had a good meaning, it brought out something positive, and that's the way to look at everything in life. So, you have this time of the year, the Chodesh Kislev is usually the Kinnas HaShluchim time, and it's usually for a lot of people, besides for the Shluchim itself, but particularly for us here in Crown Heights, for many of us, it's a certain chizuk. We have all the Shluchim coming in, I don't know, whatever it is, it's a nice social hub, but at the end of the day, it's usually an event that supplies a lot of people with a lot of chayas and energy for another year, another month, whatever it is. And this year, due to the circumstances, it's whatever. It's a totally, the experience is not being the same. But the bottom line is, whatever, person's avodah, whatever. If he's a shliach, he's, I'm not a shliach, so I'm not. But for us,
that's what you are, no?
Every yid is a shliach. But the bottom line is that every situation has to, it's still kinus hashluchim, whatever format it is. It's still a time to think about what it means for me. Everyone has their shlichus, everyone is a shliach. It's still a time to think about what's his shlichus in the world. It's the month of Kislev is coming up, Chodesh Kislev, right? There's Chodesh Kislev, and the Rebbe became healthy enough to leave 770. It's a very monumental time, and then the point is that not to get affected by everything that's going on. Like the month of the Rebbe would always connect everything with Chanukah, to light up the darkness. So anyway, that's one of the nekudas of Parshas Chayei Sarah. And it's any rate, what else is there to talk about? So That is, I think, one of the main messages of Parshas Chayesara, the importance of life and living, using out every opportunity. And person has more koyach, less koyach. Avram got older. His life was, some people when they get old, they retire, they forget about what's going on. And Avram Zakan Baba Yom, no matter whatever age or stage he was fully involved. He was fully living with it. And that's the thing. Then the Haftarah this week is a very powerful Haftarah. It's the Haftarah of Chi Adoni HaMelech David Lo'elam, right? The Haftarah of David HaMelech crowning his son Shlomo to be his successor during his own lifetime. And the message of the Haftarah is the eternity of, right, Bathsheba, the whole story. David HaMelech had a son who he wanted to be the king. He wanted to have the kingdom. He felt that he's older, whatever it is, Mishnah, the whole history. And Bathsheba goes to David HaMelech and she asks him, does he know what's going on? And he says no, he didn't hear. He was, this was obviously done without David HaMelech's consent. And she tells him what happened. And David HaMelech right away makes a public crowning of his son Shlomo to be his successor. So everyone should know that, that's the way it's going to be. And Bathsheba says, she bows to, she comes, David HaMelech says, Chi Adoni HaMelech David Lo'elam, the king, the King David should live forever. Now it's a little funny to think about it, because what is she coming for? She's coming for to make sure David HaMelech promised her that her son Shlomo will be his successor after he passes away, right? And she's coming to make sure that he ensures that smooth transition, right? Also today's day and age, we're going to have a power struggle going on, but anyway, those days also, yes, she wanted to make sure that it's going to go smoothly. So what is she telling David HaMelech? Chi Adoni HaMelech David Lo'elam, live forever. David HaMelech will live forever. Shlomo will never be king. She won't. So there's many different interpretations, but one simple interpretation is that David HaMelech lives on forever through kingdom of Shlomo. If David HaMelech would have his son, who is designated to be his successor, take over, it wouldn't be David HaMelech wouldn't be called deceased. He's still alive, right? We say David HaMelech Tzal Chayakan. The only person who really use the term that he's alive and existing is David HaMelech. Why? Because David, as the king of the Jewish people, so his kingdom lasts. Even in the time of Galus, is always a descendant of David HaMelech who has the potential to become Mashiach. So the message of the Haftarah of Parshas Chayesara is Chayesara means the life of Sarah. What does the life of the Rebbe speaks about? The fact that the whole Parsha speaks about things that happened after Sarah passed away. But nevertheless, the life of Sarah really, you see, when we see that Sarah is alive, not that when she was alive she did her activities, but after she passed away, the Jewish people, the Yitzchak gets married, he continues the Jewish nation, etc., etc. All the things that make Sarah really alive took place, are expressed much more primarily after she passes away. The same thing with David HaMelech, the power of David HaMelech, the power of the coming of Mashiach, which is embedded in David HaMelech, is something which never stops. It only grows stronger as time goes on. Every good deed that we do, every Baba Yom, every opportunity that we use to increase and to devote it to serving the Eibush, every Jew that we try to bring closer to Yiddishkeit, so that all increases the life of the Jewish people and the life of David HaMelech, the life of Mashiach. And the Eibush should help that we should see it and have it, and we should celebrate Chodesh Chesh and Chodesh Kislev together with Mashiach Tzedkeinu Yerushalayim HaKodesh Tekef Miyat Mamish.